Hey, it's me again. Now, today I'm here to talk to a topic pretty close to me, so I want to say a few things before we get started. Asexuals and aromantics are a part of the queer community. Anyone who wants to debate that with me in the comments down below should not. Anyone who wants to do something shitty, like try and tell me I don't exist, can also fuck off. Basically, don't be shitty in the comments down below. Enough of that, let's get into the video. You may have guessed it. Today we're going to talk about how to write an asexual and or aromantic character. So first of all, let's talk about the language. Asexual and aromantic are two of the lesser known queer identities, so it's important to know what all the terms I'm about to use actually mean. So here's some key terms for you to know before we get started. Asexual, a person who does not experience sexual attraction or a person who experiences less sexual attraction than an allosexual person. Aromantic, a person who does not experience romantic attraction or experiences less romantic attraction than an alloromantic. Allosexual, a person who is not asexual. Alloromantic, a person who is not aromantic. A-spec. A bit of confusion here because many people might try and tell you that this term was first coined by the autistic community. As an autistic person, I can tell you it was not. A-spec is kind of a catch-all term for people who are on the aro or ace spectrum. Kind of like queer, but specific to ace and aro and with a much less complicated history, although there are still people who'll try and tell you you can't use it. These terms will hopefully make more sense to you as the video goes on, but as always, if you have any questions remaining at the end of the video, just drop me a comment down below, ask away. Now that we've got all the fundamentals out of the way, let's get into the actual video. Number 1. Make sure your character is just as well-rounded and diverse as the rest of your cast. Assuming that your cast is well-rounded and diverse. You gotta make sure you aren't basing their entire personality off of stereotypes. Really, you shouldn't be basing any of their personality off of stereotypes, but the same way your gay character should be more than sassy and flamboyant, your a-spec character should be more than distant and antisocial. Think of who they are outside of their sexuality. Do they like makeup? Do they like sports? It's up to you. Number 2. Know what ace-aro means. This may seem pretty basic, and I did go into it at the beginning of the video, but the a-spec is very complicated, especially with it being one of the lesser known identities. So few people actually know what it means. A lot of people might tell you that asexual and aromantic people just don't want to have sex and they don't want to date, but that's not always true. A-spec is a lack of attraction, not action. So, a person who doesn't feel sexual attraction might still fuck. They might still enjoy sex, and a person who doesn't feel romantic attraction might still date, and they might enjoy dating. Not only that, but it's a spectrum, hence a-spec. For example, asexuality. There is more to being asexual than just, I don't feel sexual attraction. While that is the case for many people, there are also demisexuals, greysexuals, and many more. For example, demisexual, they only feel sexual attraction after they've gotten to know somebody, or they already have some kind of emotional connection to them. Greysexuals rarely feel a sexual attraction, but does happen sometimes. Same for aromantics. Demi-romantics only feel romantic attraction after getting to know and grey romantics rarely feel romantic attraction, but does happen. Whatever orientation it is that you are writing about, make sure you've done all of your research and you know all the facts before writing it. Otherwise you're likely to run into some harmful ideas and tropes that could do more damage than help. Number 3. Don't make their orientation a problem. Ace-aro people aren't broken, and we don't need fixing. Don't make it a problem, and if you're going to try write a book where they overcome it by the end, or they realise that they really wanted to all along, don't write a a-spec character. Number 4. Don't make their orientation to make them seem less human. Being ace does not make your character any less than any of your other characters. A good example is in Big Bang Theory. Sheldon Cooper is one of the main characters in Big Bang Theory, and he's clearly ace, but he's constantly mocked and degraded for this. him being Ace is always used as a joke to support their view of him as a robot, or for Amy to complain about how he won't sex her. This is so harmful. And the same goes for a romantic. Lack of romantic attraction does not make you any less human than an alloromantic. So unless the character saying this shit is immediately about to get punched in the face or pushed off a cliff, don't do it. Number 5. Call them a-spec in the book. Whatever they identify with, if it's ace, aro, demi-ro, grey ace, make sure you say it in the book. Now, there's occasionally I'll see someone saying how they have a fantasy story and what if they don't have this terminology in their land, but think about this. They speak the rest of the language. Why wouldn't they know that word in particular? So, say your book is in English. They speak the English language. Why wouldn't they have this one word from the English language? Even if your character doesn't necessarily know what they are in the beginning, just make sure they learn at some point throughout the book and say it. And then make sure you have the content to back this up. Don't pull a Dumbledore. Number 6. Don't automatically link a-spec and autistic. I don't know how this came about. Actually, I have a pretty good idea how it came about. It's a whole bunch of terrible stereotypes lumped together into an even bigger problem. This isn't to say that your character can't be a-spec and autistic. I mean, I'm autistic, ace, and aro. It happens. But like in The Good Place, make sure your motivations aren't corrupt. Don't make a character a-spec purely because they're autistic, and don't make a character autistic purely because they're a-spec. If they both happen to happen organically, great, sure, go for it. Just make sure you have the right motivations. Number 7. Know their compatibility with other characters. This is mostly important if you intend to put them in a relationship at some point. Now, I'm going to talk about it mostly to do with asexuality, but it translates for aromantics too. In a relationship, there should always be consent on both sides in every way possible. So, to some people, sex is really important for whatever reason. And to other people, not having sex is important. Both of these are valid. Have them talk about it, and if they aren't compatible, don't make them get together. Number 8. Know the actual problems that a-spec people face. Look, a-spec people face all kinds of problems. And if you're writing an a-spec character, it's important to acknowledge these, even if you aren't writing about them. In fact, I encourage you not to write about them a lot of the time. Sometimes something just isn't your story to tell. Sure, if you want to mention these problems in your book, go ahead. Do it. Mention how we can't vaguely talk around our sexuality without someone mentioning that it's something we'll grow out of, or just late bloomers or whatever. But don't write your entire story around it. That probably isn't your story to tell. Number 9. Don't assume you know best. If you're unsure, always ask. Even if you are a-spec, it doesn't mean you know everything. And especially if you're not a-spec, you need to talk to people in the community. If you think that there's something that might be harmful in your book, run it past a few a-spec people. If you're not sure that you've handled it correctly, then talk to a few a-specs. Hit me up if you want to. I have no friends, or life, or will to live. So that's the video. As always, if you feel like there's something that should have been included, or you have a request for a future video, leave a comment down below. This video helped you, or if you just enjoyed watching it. Hit that like button. Want to see more? Hit subscribe. I don't know where these buttons are. I'm just gonna gesture. I probably hit the buttons. And hopefully, so did you. That was bad. That's really, really bad. Bye!